What's up, everybody? Brett here, and I'm back today casting another Total War Warhammer 2 replay. This one was submitted by Evil Sun's Big Mech, so thanks to you, man, for sending in your replay. It's going to be a 2v2 on Blue Reach River. The forces at work here are going to be the Tomb Kings and their allies, the Warherd of the Shadowgave, so Morgar, versus the Dark Elves and Skaven. So interesting alliances here, and right off the bat, you can see this is going to be an interesting one. I've watched most of this replay already, but I have no idea how it ends, and I'm very eager to check that out. So yeah, guys, we're going to need to slow-mo it a bit because the action gets underway immediately. So I don't know what the funds were for this battle, but there's a lot of stuff here for the Beastmen, and a lot of it is Vanguard deployed. There's a ton of chevrons on these units. So we've got Gore Herds, some of them shielded, some of them not. But look at the rank 9 Gore Herds. Vanguard deployed, rank 3 Centaurs with great weapons. Gore Herds here, rank 9, Centaurs rank 3, Gore Herds rank 9. So they must have been playing on some pretty huge funds to afford all this stuff. I'm all about it, guys. I don't always like playing on standard funds. I like to crank it up or bring it all the way down to small funds and force myself to play in a way that's different from the norm, from the meta. And this will definitely do it. So who expects Gore Herds with this many chevrons? And they're going to get immediately into this elite, tightly packed Skaven army who, you know, maybe they expected a bit of Vanguard deployment. They do have clan rats with spears in the back, but they're facing the wrong way. So guys, if you have the micro necessary to make sure that your units face the right way when the time comes, you should definitely put your rear guard facing outward against any type of shenanigans, because now, even though they have charge defense against large, they're not facing the right way, and they're going to take some rear charges in the back. So there are gunners here, rattling gun weapon teams on the flanks. They have Blight Scabs, Plague Pack, Plague, Monk, Censer Bears, quite the mouthful, nearby, giving that aura of, how do you call that? They call it demagoguery, that's what it is, but it gives them immune to psychology. So it's a nice aura to have in the center of your army. Not much good out on the flanks, but he's got the Council Guard, who are an unbreakable Guardian unit. We've got a Warlock Engineer, and kind of most importantly, I think this is the biggest part of this army. You've got Ikit Zap Zap Warp Lightning Cannon being flanked by 2 Hell Pit Abominations. So this is an incredibly powerful siege piece. If we can hover over it, there we go. It's got the Zap ability, so it lowers recharge rates of the units that it hits. Primarily, you want to put this on casters and lords, making it so that they can't cast their particular spells or abilities the longer you spam them with that. So guys, they're going to get in there. So rattling guns weapon teams already being shut down. However, the units on this side of the battlefield are squishy and without leadership. So they're going to have to do their best to get onto important targets. And we'll check them out in a second once the battle is fully joined. We've got more Chaos Warhounds here. And the Skaven also have some Slave Slingers. Perhaps here just to skirmish and slow down any kind of incoming advance, giving time for the artillery to work. There's artillery on both sides there. But the Tomb King's player, Evil Sons, he's got Carrion out here, ranging ahead of his army to scout, as well as some Nehekar and Horsemen, who are the second tier of the Tomb King's cavalry. And they hit pretty hard. You know, they have an anti-infantry bonus, and they are going to be good. If you can get them off some rear charges, they'll do great work for you. And a ton of Skeleton Spearmen as the front line. I don't blame them. That's kind of what I like to do as well. These guys can hold for a long time, and they are chevroned up as well, so rank 9. Interesting. King Takesha's Scorpion Legion is going to be holding the outside flank. I like that a lot. I like putting my strongest halberd or spear unit on my outside flank. You can see here if his line of approach is to go this way, then he's kind of putting the entire army of his enemy to his right flank. And in that case, you know, you can just adjust your halberds and your spearmen to that flank and protect yourself. So tons of archers here, and that is going to be because he has taken High Queen Khalida with her unique ability, which buffs all ranged units in an AoE around her greatly. So she gives missile damage, reload skill, and armor-piercing missile damage to the already tremendously powerful Chosen of the Gods. She has the Blessed Legion of Demonetization, as they're often called, because saying that word can get you demonetized, I suppose. Regular Ushabti, Skeleton Archers, and the big boy himself, the Bone Giant. And they're going to be laying down some serious fire. And a Necrotech here, I like that a lot. When you have this many constructs a one-off Necrotect with Restore is often a good idea. But he seems to have all of his abilities here, which is interesting. You don't get to see these very often. Wrath of the Creator. We've got Stone Shaper for missile resistance and armor. And then, of course, Restore for healing. And I think that's pretty much it for the important stuff. Oh, no, there's one more very cool unit here, the Eyes of the Desert. You don't get to see these guys very often. Let's give a second to appreciate them and their models. They're super spooky looking. Look how creepy that mask is. But these guys have poison missile damage. Their ammunition is also considered magical. So I like these guys in the Bretonnian matchup. Grail Knights often have that physical resistance. Dragon Princes too, if you're bringing them against the High Elves. And then they'll shoot off their missiles and then close into melee. They are anti-large specialists. So they're very good at that. So what we're looking at right now is a great Vanguard deployment from the Beastmen. Going to be looking to swarm in, shut down all the most effective tools of ranged combat for the Skaven, separate them, cause them to panic, and meanwhile the Dark Elf player is kind of the one that's in the driver's seat, so to speak. He can either send his stuff into here to help, or he can, move forward, take formation, readjust his formation, whatever he needs to do. He's not being, pressured at all. I mean, one group of Chaos Warhounds, I don't consider that pressure. He sent over his War Hydra to help. He's also got Malekith up here on his dragon. And with a little bit of magic casting, he's going to be able to drive off the Harpies. While the War Hydra can definitely, corral some Centaurs, something like that. The War Hydra, of course, regens and is great in these types of battles as the Hydra roars into combat. So some units already being shut down. This is actually a decent matchup for the Gore Herd fighting the Blight Scabs Plague Pack. They're both lightly armored and hard-hitting units. So they'll tear into each other, and the Blight Scabs unit is definitely much more expensive. But these Gore Herds, on the other hand, will tear through Clan Rats with spears. And these, of course, are unchevroned. But once the Hell Pits get in here, there's going to be terror affecting these units, and they're going to have a hard time winning out in these types of engagements. And now we get to see the Rattling Guns firing. I love my new computer, guys. I can do so many slow-mos. I could probably make this a 30-minute video if I wanted. But the Harpies are getting gunned down. They're getting chased by Malekith. And so this is what concerned me when I first took a look at this video. I was like, oh man, the Beastman player is committing so much so early. And it doesn't look like he's going to be able to break this outer shell of spears, Clan Rat spears. And as you can see here, I mean, the juicy bits, the Icket's Claw, that's still intact. The Rattling Guns, for the most part, are still online. And no real damage has been done as of yet. So I was kind of disheartened for the Beastman player, but he has a ton of units in reserve here. And we didn't even look at these units here, but he has even more. Morgar, the Shadowgave, plus a Bray Shaman, Lore of Wild, and 2 groups of Razorgore herds here. So holding them in reserve, going to be no doubt launching them into combat when needed. So, and last but not least, let's just quickly go over the Dark Elves squads. So they have some Dark Shards, some shielded, some not. So 2 units with shields. I don't know, there's not much rhyme or reason to that, having some being shielded and some not. Unless you're going to put the shielded ones in front of the non-shielded. Maybe just trying to save a buck there. But some Bleak Swords here, mixed in with some Dread Spears. Not a bad choice. Some Dread Spears here are going to be protecting the single unit. Well, actually, there's 2 units of Reaper Claw Bolt Throwers. Each one has their own dedicated Spearman unit to protect them. And we also have some units of Cold One Knights. I believe there are 2. That's good. It's going to give you some anti-large armor piercing. Very good versus the Centaurs. And then we also have 2 units of Hargoneth Executioners. So they're the hard-hitting, armor-piercing units that the Dark Elves need. So, alright guys, without any further ado, you can see here the Slingers have already clashed. A lot of these units have been broken, but may return because they may merely be, terrified, not necessarily actually broken. The bad thing is that they're so near to the edge of the map that these low leadership type of units can be easily, pushed off, which is no good. The Harpies have rallied. The Centaurs have managed to catch out these Rattling Guns weapon teams, and they will destroy them. The Rattling Guns, very bad in melee. I mean, like, the worst. And they're going to get torn to pieces almost instantly. And going up and around and getting into the Icket Zap-Zaps, I mean, they're being supported by Skaven Slave Spears, but how long can that last? If they're able to shut down this very expensive artillery piece, that is going to be worth it. And, yeah, but for the most part, this formation's still intact. They've got a nice little bubble of protection around their units. Centaurs engaging with Cold One Knights, not a good trade. These are standard Centaurs, not the Great Weapon variant. So they're not going to have a good time versus the 90 armor of the Cold Ones. And a good play here from the Beastman player, just bringing what he needs to back under control, not committing everything, recognizing that, you know, he just needs to shut down the expensive stuff, the vulnerable stuff, and then after that, you know, let the Tomb Kings player help him engage. Don't engage piecemeal. That's one of the worst things you can do in a 2v2 for sure. So, in true teamwork fashion, Tomb Kings is advancing. They're using some of their cavalry to chase off the Skaven slave slingers. Could probably stop that now. They're shattered. Carrion are coming in. Yeah, Ikid Zap Zap has been pushed onto from both the front and the back. These gore herds managed to break in, and they're gone. I mean, they're not coming back. So that's awesome. That was a good catch. And the Hell Pit Abomination here a bit out of position. They were trying to chase off some of these units. You can see a lot of them are going. But some of the Skaven units have been pushed off as well. And now the Ushabti will be getting near into their range. The Bone Giant can probably already start shooting at stuff. Oh man, what have we got going off? That looked like something from Lord Skroak for sure. Liber Bubonicus perhaps draining their HP. But these ranked up gore herds are just not going quietly into this good night. And they're rampaging in. They're storm vermin with halberds here, but they're facing the wrong way. They're really not respecting the gore herds enough, the Skaven player, I have to say. You got to put one dedicated, you know, powerful unit in each fight. The Council's Guard, you know, they're going to do a good job versus these gore herds, no doubt. They're meant to fight large. We can take a good look at them, these big albino boys covered in blood currently. But yeah, honestly, just not enough respect for how many units were swarming. And I think the Dark Elf player needed to get involved sooner. You can see his formation is still facing this way. Maybe he thinks there's a larger threat coming from this direction. But whatever he thinks is over here, the Tomb Kings are definitely here. And he's going to want to adjust his formation as best he can. Something that's a lot harder for newer players to do is to adjust on the fly. But nice Bile Tide there. It's going to be catching a few units. And here's a Brace Screen. So that one's a little bit better. It does a lot of damage. Doesn't kill any models. But it's good for softening up units. And you'll see here, this is where the Bile Tide needed to go off. So, as I was saying, like, adjusting formations on the fly is a skill that you have to learn. It comes with learning hotkeys and hot groups. And it's something that once you learn how to do, you'll look like a pro playing this game. Guaranteed. So, I like to keep my units in hot groups on different hotkeys. And at that point, you know, if I need to shift my whole formation, you can just drag and drop like Alt and Shift. And you can move them right to left. And at that point, you can keep your formation nice and pretty. And you can just shift them a little bit to the right or left. It's a kind of a strange thing to do and to learn. But once you get the hold of it, it'll really up your game. So, oh my god, the Reaper Bolt Throwers are targeting the Skeleton Archers. And they're going to get some damage done, but not before the Ushabti just completely push them off. There's only 2 models left, and the crew is looking like it wants to rout. So it looks like they'll get one more round off. Maybe the Ushabti will switch targets in a second here. But no, they're wavering. Are they going to break? There were 2 of these, but I think that the Beastman player was able to get onto them and knock them off. I missed that. But now there are no Reaper Claw Bolt Throwers, so there's really nothing contesting these Chosen of the Gods, these Ushabti. And keeping High Queen Khalida with them is going to basically guarantee that they have those bonuses. They shoot super fast. And the best thing about Ushabti is that they're mobile. So if you find them in a bad position, you just simply move them, readjust their location. One Ushabti model goes down to all the Dark Shard fire. The War Hydra got a breath attack off. It did a little bit of damage, but you really want to use that down the line of some infantry. And the Dark Shards are going to be taking pot shots into these Skeleton Spearmen, but they're silver shields. And they're the cheapest thing on the battlefield next to Skaven Slaves. So not a good use of ammunition, I don't believe. Another Vile Tide going to be blasting those Dark Shards. The Bone Giant also taking a second to readjust. And they're going to be getting some serious damage onto this War Hydra, which I think is a pretty correct focus. I would be putting some of my Ushabti onto the War Hydra. At least the Bone Giant. And then the rest I would be focusing down all of these Dark Shard units with my archers. Which is exactly what he's doing. So great play from him. Bray Shaman doing a ton of damage with his magic. We've got the Razor Gores are inching forward. I like this a lot. No reason to commit. Wait till the Dark Elf player sends in his infantry, commits all of his ranged units, and then hit him in the back with some Razor Gores. And the Eyes of the Desert are shooting off their poisonous missiles, and they're looking to counter-engage these Cold One Knights, keeping them out of the back line. King Nikesh's Scorpion Legion with their poison, they would be perfect in this fight as well. I would try and send them forward if at all possible. But good idea. Just use your Shaman from behind the safety of your allies' lines. There is a bit of a pit fight here, guys. It's mostly between all of those mobile elements, and they're going to get cleaned up in short order. But in the meantime, they're keeping the entire Skaven army busy. And I have a feeling that they're just vastly overcommitting to this fight. This is purely a distraction fight, and it's working. By the time they get in here, the Dark Elf army isn't going to be in tatters. Even Malekith is so deep in reserve that he's not able to accomplish much. And good targeting, I have to say. Evil Sun's Big Mac, you've been pretty spot on, targeting the things that I would probably target. The Brave Shaman, unfortunately, goes outside of his protective bubble, as I've been calling it this game, of friendly spears. And he got caught out, but there's so much fire here to protect him. You know, still not being microed efficiently currently, but thanks to, you know, the Tomb King's player noticing his Brave Shaman is going to be saved. When otherwise, you know, if he just kept on his own targets and wasn't, you know, playing the team game, which is definitely what he's doing now, that Brave Shaman would be dead. And it looks like a little bit of miss micro here. Yeah, you got to learn your hot groups, guys. Traveling in threes like this, I can tell that he's probably got them all on one group maybe, and he's pulling them out. Sometimes you got to do this as well. Sacrifice one group, send them in the melee against the Chaos Warhounds, so that way the other two can escape and then start taking fire maybe at those Centaurs. So the Skaven player is just now coming in, but he can be screened easily. 2 Skeleton Spearmen and 1 Tomb Guard Halberd. That's enough to screen out this entire army for quite some time. And with the Blessed Legion's armor sundering, plus all the other armor-piercing damage that's coming in, if Malekith stays here, he's going to die. He's got Soul Stealer. Stand your ground, of course, giving him melee defense, but that's not going to protect him here. That was a pretty nice Warlock Engineer. I think that was a rocket going into the sides of these Skeleton Spears. And that was devastating. That killed quite a few models. Bone Giant's going to swing and miss there. It's not the most accurate of artillery pieces. On units that are sitting still, it can hit them all day long, but strafing dragons kind of hard. And Malekith is broken. That's devastating for the Dark Elves. And at this point, their entire army can be driven off purely by the mobile elements of the Beastman player. So the Hargoneth Executioners have gotten into the front line. They're being mirrored by the Tomb Guard, who are really just hardy. They're not going to do a ton to the Hargoneth, but they will hold them in place for quite some time. Skeleton Archers are being run away from them, and the Summonu Shapti from the Realm of Souls have been dropped. And they're actually a pretty good counter to the Hargoneth Executioners. They're armor-piercing anti-infantry, and they mitigate the anti-infantry bonuses of Hargoneth Executioners. So they will do armor-piercing damage. They're no slouches versus Ushabti, but it's a good matchup for them, considering that they're a free summon unit. And the Skeleton Spearmen are just holding all day versus these much higher and more expensive tier units. So, and that's just allowing nothing but time for the Archers and Ushabti to fire. Unfortunately, this one Hell Pit Abomination has gotten into the back line. Chosen of the Gods being committed now to melee since they do not have any more ammunition. That's a good choice, recognizing when you need to do that. Mixing in the Eyes of the Desert as well, giving that poison to this fight. He's got regen. That hurt. That hurt a lot. So that was a cast, I believe, from Lord Skroak, perhaps? Maybe from the Engineer as well. So it's interesting that the Skaven player decided to take so many spells and ability on Lord Skroak, in addition to all of the spells and abilities on the Warlock Engineer. That's a lot of gold. You could have spent chevroning or getting higher tier infantry units. So interesting choices there. Skeleton Archers, they're trying to keep them out of the fight. Some Chaos Spawn finally from Morgur, who has been kind of absent in this battle so far. But yeah, they're going to get in here and start whirlwind beating these Dread Spears. They're a pretty powerful unit. Oh, but by the time they get summoned, they dissipate. It's part of the new summoning rules. They're on a timer now. They don't just degrade. Skaven finally getting in there with their elite infantry, Council Guard, Blight Scabs. closing the distance with the Chosen of the Gods and the Tomb Guards with halberds. The Bone Giant finally being committed. Boom! I love that. You hardly ever get to see the Bone Giant use all of his ammunition and then get into that melee combat. The Razor Gourds here get a nice charge off. And some archers, looks like they're shooting into the back. Yeah, here they are, point blank skeleton archers shooting into the backs of these elite infantry. And they're going to be tearing them apart. Yeah, Skroke is looking a bit isolated. Curious to see where High Queen Khalida is. The Necrotech's still online. Warp Lightning going off on the Blessed Legion, who are nearly out of ammo. She's only got one kill, but yeah, she doesn't want to fight Council Guard. That's a really bad fight for her, so good on her for getting out of there. Yeah, let the Centaurs with great weapons charge into the flank, slow them down. They don't want to fight them either, but at the least they can do is slow them down a bit. Morgur here up to 14 kills. He needs to get in there with his infectious butt. Hiding in the corpse of the War Hydra, a tricky tactic. For those of you who've never seen his model, I just wanted to make sure you got a chance to look at him. He's pretty chaos infected. He's got that lobster claw. He's got the huge weave with the spider webs on the back. Pretty grotesque. But he's one of the more powerful lords. He's been nerfed over time, certainly. He has regen. He can summon lots and lots of chaos spawn. But he does need to be around infantry with really low HP pools. So these Blight Scabs are probably pretty close to being converted into chaos spawn. They still have tons of models, but they're near death. Let's see if that happens. I'm curious if that's all been used up already. But they're nearly gone. At this point, it's looking like it's going to be a... Oh no, it's kind of hard to tell. Malekith returns. No doubt still has some Winds of Magic at his disposal. Plenty of Storm Vermin still on the field for the Skaven player. You know, he's got Hell Pit Abominations, Warlock Engineers. I don't know if the Tomb King and Beastman player have enough AP and missiles still left in the tank. I mean, most of their ranged tools are out of ammo at this point. These Skeleton Archers are out. The Blessed Legion is now out. All of their Ushapti are out. It's going to be tough. There's a lot of regen on the battlefield right now. The Hell Pits could instantly have Too Horrible to Die proc, and then next thing you know, they're back up to several thousand HP. Malekith could still have a Soul Stealer, in his back pocket. Call of Violence being popped for Morgur, giving leadership to all of these units. And if he can beat Lord Skroke in melee, just kill him, that would be a way that the Skaven player could be out of this fight. Taking out the leadership is probably their best tactic right now, because honestly, as good as they've done this whole battle, their leadership is what's keeping them in this fight, and their really tough tanky units are what's keeping them in this fight as well. There's a lot of rallying forces for the Beastmen, though. Storm Vermin are fighting nothing but good targets, honestly. They'll beat King Nikesh's, they'll beat Ushapti. Even High Queen Khalida doesn't really want to be in this fight. Skroke has been beaten on, so they weren't able to get this, to get Morgur off of him. And, I don't know, I feel like you got to chase him off the battlefield with something cheap. Get some Centaurs or something, and try and chase him off. I understand why he's escorting him right now with Morgur, though. The Warlock Engineer is attempting to get him off. And he rallies. He's just shaken now. Morgur's a pretty strong combatant, though. He does poison damage, he has great melee attack and melee defense, and with just a nice side charge here from the Centaurs, that's going to be enough to break off both the Warlock Engineer, and he shatters. Oh, man. Malekith has 163 kills. Honestly, guys, I feel like if they had turtled up together a little bit with their Hell Pit Abominations, with Malekith, with Skroke and the Engineer, and then whatever, remaining halberds they had, I think it would have been very difficult for the remaining forces of the Beastmen and Tomb Kings to dislodge them. They didn't have much left. They had some really beaten Tomb Guard and Spearmen. High Queen Khalida and the Necrotech were still online, but I mean, a charge from Malekith might have been enough to kill her. I'm not sure if Malekith was used to his fullest potential this game. He ended up with quite a few kills, probably due to his casting and breath attacks. But, yeah, I feel like at the end there, he needed to be trying to take out the most valuable targets, but he spent so much time in the air. as opposed to, taking out those valuable targets. So still great play from everyone. I thought the Vanguard deployed probably really helped them win this. So you will know pain, great play. Having all of these Gore Herd units is something that people probably don't expect this day and age, and then having them chevroned up like this, 145 kills on the Black Horns Ravagers. That's a nice tally. 233 kills. No doubt these were all on, Skaven slaves, but that's what you bring these guys for. They're absolute blenders against Skavens. But this Vanguard deployed strategy, I think, was crucial to the success of this overall army. Being able to shut down the Skaven, not even just shutting down very valuable assets like Ikit Zap Zap, but being able to sow general confusion, making it so that this player just couldn't engage as one army with his ally, making it so that his forces were split, his most valuable range tools, the Rattling guns, and his artillery piece couldn't shoot. It was a great play, and it's worth thinking about sometimes how sacrificing even half your army, which is basically what he did, to shut down just a bit of the Skaven's army, made it so that the Dark Elf player ultimately was engaged on by himself, and he had a hard time. So, anyway, guys, thank you so much to Evil Sons Big Mac for sending in this replay. Thank you guys for being good sports and good players, and I appreciate you. So, guys, if you'd like to send me replays, feel free. We have a Discord channel where people send me replays, and very soon we're going to be doing tons of content on the new DLC. I can't wait. And guys, I'm out of breath. Whew, I'm like breathing heavy as if I just went running or something. But I did just wake up this morning. I'm kind of out of it a little bit. But casting games like this, it's really exhausting. I have a great respect for people who cast sports games because I can't even imagine doing this for hours. But anyway, y'all, thank you so much for watching. Once again, my name is Brett. My channel is Goodtalk Gaming. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next one. Take care, y'all.